Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, my Pua heading to the Horn of Africa, where a revolution is underway. This one isn't being fought with weapons, but with watts and wheels. Ethiopia, a nation many associate with ancient history and legendary long-distance runners, is unexpectedly becoming a leader in a quintessentially 21st century technology, the electric car. This isn't just a story about transportation. It's about a bold national strategy, economic pragmatism, and a vision for a green future that could ripple across the entire African continent. It's a story of a country with one of the lowest car ownership rates in the world, deciding to leapfrog the entire era of the internal combustion engine. The year 2024 will go down in Ethiopian history as the year the government made a startling announcement. In a move that caught the global auto industry by surprise, Ethiopia became one of the first countries in the world to officially ban the importation of non-electric vehicles. This policy, confirmed on January 29th, wasn't just a symbolic nod to environmentalism. It was a cold, hard economic calculation. For years, Ethiopia's economy has been strained by a severe shortage of foreign currency. A huge chunk of that currency was flowing out of the country to pay for imported fossil fuels. In 2023 alone, the nation's fuel import bill was nearly $6 billion. Over half of that was just to power its fleet of vehicles. The ban on importing gasoline and diesel cars was a decisive move to stop this economic bleeding and redirect that money towards domestic needs. But this decision didn't come out of nowhere. It was the peak of a strategic campaign that began years earlier. Back in November 2022, the government started slashing taxes on electric vehicles. A conventional car in Ethiopia was subject to a bewildering maze of taxes: a 15% value-added tax, excise taxes that could go up to 100%, a 10% surtax, and a 3% withholding tax. In stark contrast, a fully assembled imported EV was only hit with a 15% customs duty. If you imported the parts and assembled the car locally, the duty dropped to just 5%. The message was crystal clear: go electric and build them here. The goal isn't just to replace the existing cars. With over 120 million people and a motorization rate of just under 7 vehicles per 1,000 people back in 2016, compared to a continental average of over 70, Ethiopia has a unique blank slate. It can build a modern, sustainable transportation system without first having to dismantle an old, entrenched one. The government has set a target of getting 500,000 EVs on its roads by 2030, a massive jump from an initial goal of around 150,000. And according to some reports, they're already blowing past their early targets. But this whole ambitious plan hinges on one critical question: where does all the electricity come from? The answer lies in a monumental feat of engineering, a source of immense national pride: the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD. This is Africa's largest hydroelectric project, and it is the linchpin of the country's entire green strategy. With the potential to generate over 5,000 megawatts of power, the GERD is set to double Ethiopia's electricity production. This creates a massive surplus of cheap, renewable energy, which is the bedrock of the e-mobility revolution. Ethiopia's electricity is already among the cheapest in the world. For households that use less energy, rates can be as low as 2 US cents per kilowatt hour. This makes charging an EV incredibly affordable. One EV owner, who bought a Chinese-made BYD, reported that her monthly transportation costs dropped by 50 to 60% after she made the switch. The GERD isn't just a power plant, it's a symbol. It represents Ethiopia's determination to control its own destiny and forge a path to development on its own terms. It will power the nation's EV fleet and has the potential to turn Ethiopia into a major exporter of clean energy to its neighbors, creating a powerful cycle of sustainable growth. While the government and its mega dam have laid the foundation, it's the country's entrepreneurs and their international partners who are building the new electric ecosystem on the ground. In a market historically flooded with second-hand gasoline cars, a new generation of Ethiopian business leaders is seizing the moment. A prime example is Marathon Motors Engineering. This is a joint venture between a name you might recognize, the world-renowned long-distance runner and business mogul Haile Gebrselassie, and the South Korean auto giant Hyundai. Back in 2020, Marathon Motors began assembling the all-electric Hyundai Ioniq in Ethiopia. The country's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed praised it as a concrete step towards a green economy. The company has since added the Hyundai Kona EV and the Ioniq 5 to its lineup, offering warranties of up to 8 years on the batteries to build consumer trust. But they're not just selling cars. Marathon Motors is investing in the crucial infrastructure needed to support them. They've opened their own charging station at their facility in the capital, Addis Ababa, and have partnered with Total Energies to install chargers at gas stations, a clear sign of the times. The CEO of Marathon Motors, Melkamu Asefa, has noted the challenges, like navigating a regulatory system that's still playing catch-up, with issues around getting license plates for EVs and securing reasonable insurance rates. Another key player is Green Tech Africa. Founded by Fitsum Derisa, this private firm is focusing on importing and, soon, assembling affordable electric and solar-powered vehicles from the Chinese automaker Dongfeng. Green Tech Africa has a vision to import 5,000 vehicles over the next 5 years. They've also introduced innovative financing to make EVs more accessible, like a 40/60th payment plan with microfinance institutions. Crucially, they understand the need for a skilled workforce. Green Tech Africa has partnered with SOS Children's Village to train young technicians in EV maintenance and repair, creating a pipeline of talent for this new industry. The story of Ethiopia's EV boom is also a story of international partnership, particularly with China. Chinese brands have been quick to see the opportunity. Companies like BYD, which recently overtook Tesla as the world's largest EV maker, are now a common sight on the streets of Addis Ababa. These firms aren't just shipping cars, they're partnering with local businesses for assembly and, in some cases, investing in local manufacturing. A new factory in Debre Birhan, built with an investment of over $52 million by the Baleni Kinde Group, is a testament to this, with the capacity to produce 1,000 EVs a year. While Chinese companies have a strong foothold, the market is open. The U.S. International Trade Administration has highlighted opportunities for American firms, not just in making cars, but in supplying charging equipment, battery technology, and recycling services. The Ethiopian government is actively encouraging this, with the Minister of Transport and Logistics, Bareo Hassan, stating that the focus on sustainable transport is drawing significant global attention. However, a transition this rapid and this radical is not without its challenges. The very speed of the change has created some significant bumps in the road. The biggest hurdle is the lack of a widespread and reliable charging infrastructure. While chargers are popping up across the capital, they are still few and far between in rural areas. This makes long-distance travel in an EV a risky proposition. The government has announced ambitious plans to install charging stations every 50 to 120 kilometers along major highways, but this will require massive investment and time. And even with the GERD, the national power grid itself can be a challenge. Power outages are still common in many parts of the country, and the grid will need to be reinforced to handle the added demand from hundreds of thousands of new electric cars. Then there's the issue of affordability. The tax breaks make EVs cheaper than their gas-guzzling alternatives, but the upfront cost is still a massive barrier for the average Ethiopian. In a country where an average doctor might earn the equivalent of about 60 British pounds a month, a BYD model costing around £11,000 is an unimaginable luxury. As one motorcycle taxi rider in a rural village pointed out, even the cost of an electric two-wheeler is a significant obstacle when you're struggling to make a living day to day. Finally, there's the problem of after-sales service. The scarcity of trained mechanics and the difficulty of sourcing spare parts, most of which have to be imported from China, can lead to long and expensive repair waits. Some early adopters have expressed frustration with these issues, with a few even considering switching back to a combustion engine vehicle. So what does all this mean in the grand scheme of things? The term Green Revolution historically refers to the agricultural transformation that boosted crop yields across Asia and Latin America. Africa is now in the midst of its own broader green revolution, focused on building a sustainable and resilient future. Ethiopia's EV push is a central part of this. It's deeply connected to the country's National Development Plan, known as the Climate Resilient Green Economy Strategy, or CRGE. Launched way back in 2011, the CRGE's goal is to transform Ethiopia into a middle-income country by 2025, with zero net carbon emissions. The transport sector is a key pillar of this strategy, with a focus on leapfrogging to modern, energy-efficient technologies. The EV revolution is also a powerful expression of Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative. Launched in 2019 by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, this massive reforestation program has seen billions of trees planted across the nation. The push for no-emission cars is seen as a natural extension of this commitment to environmental stewardship. What makes Ethiopia's story so compelling is its potential to inspire a similar transformation across the continent. By proving that a developing nation can bypass the fossil fuel era and jump directly to a clean energy future, Ethiopia is creating a powerful blueprint for others to follow. The economic benefits of cutting fuel import bills, the environmental advantages of cleaner air, and the social opportunities of a new green economy are a potent combination. The road ahead for Ethiopia's EV revolution will be challenging, but the combination of bold government policy, abundant renewable energy, a growing class of entrepreneurs, and a population ready for change has created an undeniable momentum. In the story of Ethiopia's surprising rise in electric vehicles, we might just be witnessing the dawn of a new era for Africa, one where the continent is not a follower in the global green transition, but a leader. The roar of the internal combustion engine is fading, and in its place, a quieter, cleaner, and more hopeful sound is emerging on the streets of Addis Ababa and beyond. The sound of a green revolution in motion. Thanks for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online.